name is LoeyLane, and I'm so excited to tell you guys about my new podcast, Internet Urban Legends, with my BFF Snitchery.
We deep dive into the darkest corners of the internet to uncover whether some of the most notorious web myths are hoax or whether they're con. Internet Urban Legends, available exclusively on Spotify.
Hello, my loves. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. Hi, hello, my name is Loey. Today we're going to be talking about an alleged TikTok killer that I feel like absolutely nobody talks about. Listen, I originally had written that up for the title as well, and then I realized that like people that I watch have talked about him. Ready to Glare did a video on the situation a couple of months ago, and I actually found out about this entire story through a video on the Fear Files channel. And I found this, like stumbled across all of this when I was researching for my Amazon review killer video. It's a good video if you want to check it out. But I had decided that I wanted to do more true crime based content with this sort of internet approach. I think it's so fascinating when we can look at someone and really humanize them, I guess, even if they've done something really terrible. And a lot of the time social media can be a great way to do that. And I don't mean humanize as in empathize with them. It's just to see that they are just a person. It can make it a lot scarier, a lot more harrowing, and it makes the story feel really, really real. A bit of a content warning here in the beginning of the video. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of pretty dark topics, including domestic violence, emotionally abusive relationships, as well as gun violence as well. So if any of those themes might be too much for you or not something you can handle, please just go ahead and exit out of the video, and I would love to catch you on a different one. But for now, please take care of your own mental health. And if you are looking for resources specifically for domestic violence and abusive relationships, I'll have some stuff for you listed down below. Take care of yourself. So today we're going to be talking about Ali Abulaban, also known online under the username JinnKid. Ali amassed over his time on social media almost 1 million followers on TikTok, as well as hundreds of thousands of followers across other social media platforms. He was, by all accounts, a social media star. And today he sits in jail, awaiting a trial for a double homicide in which he is the only suspect. When I first came across this story, I was really startled to realize I had watched a lot of JinnKid's Skyrim in real life videos. His videos have tens and hundreds of millions of views across different social platforms. So odds are that you may have seen some of his content as well. It's honestly just horrifying to realize that someone whose content that you can intake on a somewhat daily basis can be such a monster when they're off camera. Ali Abulaban was born May 18th of 1992, and he was born in Staten Island to Palestinian parents. Eventually, the entire family would move to Virginia. And when he was growing up, it's said that Ali was really into movies and entertainment. And when he was like 14, sang in a band, and he was just really into the idea of entertaining people. But he also always loved the idea of being a star, being famous to some degree. You can see in the kind of content that he ends up putting onto TikTok and other platforms later in his life, he really idolized Tony Montana, specifically from the movie Scarface. Tony Montana, while certainly like the main character and protagonist of Scarface, was also a really bad person and certainly a villain. You can certainly separate like a character from their actions. You can still enjoy the way that a character is written or enjoy certain things about them while separating their actions from that. But as we'll see later, Tony's villainous tendencies seem to reflect a lot of what ends up happening in this case. I couldn't find a lot about Ali's early life online, but it is said that eventually, when he reached adulthood, when he graduated school and stuff, he decided to join the military. And he was stationed all the way over in Okinawa, Japan. In 2014, this military base is where he would meet his future wife, Anna. I couldn't find Anna's maiden name online, and it could be by choice due to the family, so I'm just gonna refer to her as Anna Abulaban, although that was not like her maiden name. She married Ali Abulaban, but you get it. Anna Abulaban was born to Filipino parents, and her father was actually working at the US military base in Okinawa at the same time that Ali was stationed there. Anna Marie Abulaban was a really really beautiful person. And everybody who has anything to say about her just sings her praises. She was kind, she was beautiful, she was so smart and caring and giving, but her closest friends all say that it was really her inner beauty that made her stand out. Her best friend, her childhood best friend, was named Casey Conroy, and they grew up on that military base together. That was how they met, and they've been best friends ever since, just thick as thieves. And Casey went on record to just say what a great person Anna was, saying that she was so charming and lovely, but also just like more like a family member than a friend. She was really fun to be around. She was really bright and energetic, but she also just cared so much about the people in her life. I think the very day of her passing, or like the day before, Casey had gotten a text from Anna asking, what are we doing for your birthday? Because Casey's birthday was like 4 days away and Anna wanted to start the planning now. And as you'll hear later on in this case, Anna was going through so much, like so much, and she still just cared so much for the people in her life. Anna Marie was just a genuinely good person, and when she met Ali, she thought he was too. When the two of them met, they really had this like whirlwind romance. It seemed to move very quickly. Ali was infatuated with Anna. Like I said, she's really beautiful, as you can probably tell. But he also just noted all of those amazing qualities about her. Her kindness, her inner beauty, just how giving and selfless she was. And the feelings certainly seemed mutual for Anna. So I guess it was somewhat unsurprising for the people around them when, within the year of them meeting and starting to date, they got married. But unfortunately, there were red flags in this relationship right from the beginning. Casey, who again was Anna's absolute best friend, had really watched men come and go from Anna's life. You know, Casey had been there from the very beginning, and she didn't like Ali for Anna very much. And at first, she was just watching, observing, making sure that this guy was good for her friend, and there was just something a little bit off. And those feelings were confirmed when one day Casey gave Anna a call and Ali answered the phone. And Casey's kind of taken aback by this, but she's like, all right, maybe Anna's in the shower or something, I don't know. And Ali answers and he's like, what do you want? Like, why are you calling? And Casey was like, to talk to my friend? Like, why are you answering her phone? And Ali was already so possessive and controlling of Anna at this point that he was answering her phone and wanting to know what people who talked to her all the time, what people who had been there long before him wanted with his girl. It of course came across to Casey as pretty controlling, but for Anna's sake, she kept tolerating Ali. I mean, Anna really loved this guy, and it was proven that she really loved him when they got married within the year of meeting one another. From there, Ali and Anna settled down in Ali's home state of Virginia. Like I said, he was born in Staten Island, but mostly raised in Virginia. And they led what Ali referred to as the idyllic American life. They bought a house in Virginia. They had their first child, who they named Amara. And they seemed to be just settling into life together really, really, really well. Things had moved pretty quickly for them, but they were really in love with each other. And a lot of people around them noticed just how devoted Ali was to his wife. However, I know a couple of you are probably like harboring on the fact that I said that Ali was stationed at that base back in Okinawa. Well, Ali was less than honorably discharged, seemingly. This is to the best of my understanding. According to detectives in Ali's case, they said that he got into a physical altercation at a bar one night with Anna and a couple of other people, and this led to him being less than honorably discharged. To quote exactly, it was an incident in which resulted in the defendant being other than honorable discharged from the Air Force. Unfortunately, it seems that a lot of what we're going to be talking about in today's case was there from the beginning. But Ali and Anna were really good at masking their situation, and unfortunately this is just something that happens in situations of abusive relationships. Both parties go to crazy lengths to hide the abuse, both the abuser and the one being abused. But on the outside, this beautiful couple had a beautiful daughter, and everything was coming up roses. But Ali had bigger plans for his life. He wasn't just happy having his beautiful family in beautiful Virginia. He still was so hungry for that fame that I talked about at the beginning of this video. Ali was a pretty creative person, and that hadn't really changed, but what had changed or started to rear its ugly head was his desire to be recognized for it. And I say it reared its ugly head, but really everybody wants to be recognized for their hard work, right? Like, you do something, you want praise for it, or you want eyes on it. Artists are making their art and hoping other people might see it. And that's not the case in every single situation, but Ali had sung in that band that I talked about from when he was 14. So he started writing his own music. And that didn't really go anywhere for him. And honestly, I have my brother who is like so talented in music, loves music, writes it, composes it, but it is hard to find music work. I had 2 musician parents, I get it. I totally understand why it's hard to find work in music. So when he didn't quite land anything along those lines, he just started making whatever came to his mind. And like I said, he was really into film. So he started making what he referred to as like parodies of his favorite film characters. But really, this was just Tony Montana from Scarface. He would also portray John Wick, as well as Tekashi 6ix9ine, and he would even sometimes make these parodies where he would kind of make fun of the AI mechanics of the video game Skyrim. These videos frequently went viral, and he got a lot of attention for this content. And once it started coming in, it kind of just kept snowballing him to the top. He amassed nearly 1 million TikTok followers, as well as hundreds of thousands of followers on YouTube and Instagram. It seemed that he had really found his calling through these skits. He felt really creatively inspired and fulfilled by them, but he also began to let viewers in on his personal life. He shared tidbits about himself, his wife, his family, his daughter. He would constantly say how lucky he was, how much he loved his wife, how wonderful everything was, just really showing off this perfect American dream that I mentioned earlier to the outside world through rose-colored lenses that Ali put on for the audience. This looked like the perfect happy couple, but of course, we know that wasn't always the case. Ali was really close to his cousin named Loey Marinari. Loey has been really vocal in Ali's case and has had a lot of input and a lot to say. And I think that this is because he really knew Ali. Like, they were more like best friends, it seems, than they were like cousins. So when Loey moved to San Diego, Ali and Anna followed closely behind. The entire family basically uprooted to the West Coast. Now, since then, Ali has come out and said it was Anna's idea to move to San Diego. She had all these friends there. She wanted a social life. But from what I'm reading, it seemed like Ali wanted to go just as much. At the time of the family moving from Virginia to San Diego, Ali and Anna seemed so happy. Loey said it was all smiles. They just seemed so content with life and with each other. But when Anna's San Diego friends met Ali, they were not fond of him. And this seems to be a really common theme, is people who care about Anna, you know, they care about her well-being, they meet Ali and something is not quite right. None of Anna's friends liked that Ali would carry a gun with him wherever he went. He was also really show-offy about that and about everything, which did not help. Ali was no longer this like humble guy who was fun and easy to talk to. The fame had really started to affect him. He got a bite of internet celebrity and it just took off for him. He would brag about numbers and follower counts and all of his success just 24/7 basically. He would talk over people and would never let anyone get a word in edgewise. Just constantly boasting. There was nothing humble about him. He didn't want to know about other people. All he cared about was himself. He was probably making up for his own insecurities, to be honest, but every single one of Anna's friends who met this guy were just like, we don't love him, but we'll tolerate him. And Loey, Ali's cousin, said that a lot of this insecurity was based on the fact that for Ali, he felt like ever since they had moved to San Diego, things between him and Anna had really shifted. See, their daughter was a couple of years old at this point. They had lived in Virginia for a bit after, you know, coming in from Okinawa, and then he started TikTok around 2019. They moved to San Diego sometime in the next couple of years. They've been together for a while, and marriages ebb and flow, and they go through shifts, but this didn't feel quite normal to Ollie. He felt like he was losing his grip on Anna. Anna, as we can see from her social media, had a really flourishing social life in San Diego. She loved her friends, she was really active with them, and this sparked a lot of arguments between herself and Ollie. Ollie says that she partied too much, she was out all the time, she was never taking care of their daughter, whereas everyone else says no. Anna would go out for a drink with friends and Ollie would call her incessantly and say, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Where are you? She would be freaked out by this. Her friends would hear all this happening and be like, why will he not let you have one night out with your friends? And his cousin Louis says this was just because he really wanted to control Anna. When she went out without him, her world did not revolve around him, and that just simply could not do. It sparked a lot of jealousy and a lot of anger in him. I imagine this had to be really hard for Louis, Ollie's cousin, but he started to notice what he thought was abuse in the relationship. And he just really started looking a lot more closely. After Ollie just seemed so controlling over Anna and just seemingly could not keep a cool head when it came to her, Louis was watching a lot more carefully, and what he found was not great. Louis was taking note of these dark changes, and the public started noticing as well. All of those followers on social media were still watching Ollie's moves online, and his problems strayed from his personal world into his online persona. His online skits took a weirdly more aggressive tone, just seemed a little bit darker. Ollie was also starting to lose weight really rapidly, and people had suspected that he was potentially on drugs. And then one day in an Instagram live, Ollie did a line of cocaine on camera. And people thought this was part of another skit. They were like, this is just another character. We're about to see, I don't know, somebody, John Wick, I don't know, John Wick come out, somebody. But it was real. And the way that Ollie was acting made that really clear. The very next day, Ollie issued an apology saying, that was my first time ever trying cocaine. Like, I can't believe that I did that. I can't believe I did that on camera. You guys have to be careful with drugs. Like, that was my first time. I was really irresponsible. But it clearly wasn't his first time, and it surely would not be his last. I don't know what it was about this Instagram live where he apologized that set him off. I don't know if it's that he didn't feel like people were being sympathetic enough towards him. I don't know if he just really wanted to blame someone else. But he shifted the blame for his drug use onto his wife, Anna. He was just talking about how she would go out all the time and he hated her friends because they would bring guys back to their homes and cheat on their husbands, but he loved his wife. He loved his wife so much. But like, oh man, she parties too much, and he's ranting about his marital problems on Instagram Live after apologizing for doing a line of coke. He also, in that live, went on to say that he's not in touch with his family anymore. They don't support him. And there was, it's not clear if this was the same Instagram live or another, because really all that exists are fragments of these lives and of a lot of Ollie's content. He certainly had a number of Instagram followers, but there were only like 150, 200 people in each live from what I can tell. So I'm not sure if this was the same Instagram live or a different one, but all I do know was that there was an Instagram live in which Ollie flew off the rails, and this was just weeks before his wife's eventual murder. I don't really curse in my videos ever, but I feel like it's important to note here, like Ollie called Anna a bitch on live, like fully just called her that word, called his wife that word on an Instagram live, but was talking to her, like referring to her, and was really mad at her and just like talking down to her so aggressively. He said, I brought you to San Diego for what? So you can run to your friends? Abuse 101, like not funny at all, like just abuse 101. Like, it set something off in me when I heard him say that. I actually was gonna include part of the live in this video, but it's so triggering for me to listen to. A lot of this case is really hard to listen to as someone who has been through that. To say, I brought you to San Diego so you can run off with your friends. He also, in this live, said racial slurs, not directed towards Anna, but just in general. And in response to one comment that said, walk it off, he very eerily said, what do you mean, walk it off? I'm going to jail, man. On that live, he told Anna that she wasn't even an American citizen. He had brought her to this country. Name one other man that would do that for you. And again, just chills down my spine as I'm hearing him say all of this shit. But it's a stark difference from the man that Ali once was, from at least who he seemed to be. Anna had posted this sweet TikTok compilation of clips of her and Ali, clips of him with her daughter, and just showcasing what a happy family they seem to be. And I think that's something with abusive situations that we all kind of have to get through our head, is it's not usually bad 24/7. That doesn't mean that it's not terrible, and it's not something that everyone should get out of. People put on a mask, and Anna, being a dedicated mother and such a lovely person, I'm sure just wanted to protect her family. And if that meant lying and saying that everything was so good between the two of them, it's completely understandable. But that man that he seemed to be was gone. And now he's calling his wife names on camera and saying racial slurs and doing lines of drugs. He was drinking and driving on Instagram lives from time to time, which is so scary later in this case. His cousin Loey recalled that one time they were at a bar and Ali just whips out a giant bag of cocaine, just plops it down on the table there in the bar. And Loey is like, what are you doing? You're gonna get us kicked out of here. Like, please do not do that. To which Ali responded, they can't do anything to me. I'm JinnKid. No one can touch me. And his mental state kept declining further and further as Anna pulled away. He could see that his wife was starting to pull back from him, that she was kind of weirded out by the way that he was acting. And I'm sure just focusing on raising their daughter, since it seems to me he was not incredibly present during this time. And as she pulled away, he held on tighter and tighter. He couldn't understand that he was the reason why she was pulling away. He didn't see it like that. All he saw was, I brought her to San Diego. Why doesn't she want to hang out with me? Why does she want to hang out with everyone that's not me? He couldn't see that it was him that was doing this. When he wasn't with her and he was with other people like his cousin or friends, he would just sit on his phone and scroll through photos of her and just say, oh, look at how beautiful she is. She's so amazing. My wife, she's so beautiful. Anna is so beautiful. Look at her. That's my wife. It's hard to give this entire story a really clear timeline. And I think that as this goes to trial later on in the year, we'll learn more and more details about the timeline, and I'll probably film an update later this year after this goes to trial. In terms of their relationship, at some point during this, Ali and Anna did separate. Loey, his cousin, says it was around 2 months prior to the murder. So that Instagram live that I mentioned earlier, basically in the background that like all of his clothes are on the floor, he has a suitcase out, he's packing, he's leaving. And this was not of his own accord, very much so she kicked him out as she should. But they still had a daughter together. I mean, they still had a child that they had to raise together. Again, I'm kind of filling in blanks, but I'm assuming that it was probably during one of those visits when he was back at the apartment that he got violent with Anna in front of Amara. He pushed Anna, giving her minor injuries. He also showed their daughter a loaded gun. Anna called the police to press charges for his assault on her. And during that time around this, she also filed for divorce and was going to get a restraining order against him. It was over for Ali and Anna. And she certainly knew it, but Ali could not accept it. Unfortunately, escaping your abuser is rarely this easy. And Ali doubled down on his attempts to win his wife back. He secretly copied their apartment keys before handing in his own to Anna when he left the apartment. He would call her incessantly day in and day out saying, we need to talk, we need to talk. When she wouldn't answer, he would call her friends. He would, ask them, why is she not calling me? Like, why won't she answer? And everyone, his family, her friends, his friends, everyone is like, can you just leave this woman alone? Like, just back off, dude. If you really want to win your wife back, like you've got to change. Like you have to do some work. But for now, give her some space. Ali could not believe that Anna wanted a divorce from him. In his mind, he was this great guy, this real catch, really handsome and smart and, you know, really creative. And he had all this money now from doing social media. He couldn't believe that she wanted a divorce from him. One night when he was out to dinner with his cousin Loey and some friends, he asks, do you guys think Anna will ever take me back? Like, do you think that she'll ever want to be with me again? And Louie's best friend Danielle kind of sits there for a minute and she's like, yeah, I kind of think she would. I mean, you guys seemed happy together, but like you would have to get your stuff together first. Like you have to get it together in order for her to take you back. At this time, Ali was living in a motel and he told Loey over this conversation that they were having about, you know, maybe Anna taking him back eventually, that they were still together, they're still married after all. Anna just wants to make him suffer. Loey tried to reassure his cousin. He had seen everything and he's trying to kind of get Ali's mind off of Anna. He thinks that this obsession with her is completely out of hand. And he's like, listen man, you could have anyone you wanted. Like you have to stop focusing so much on somebody who clearly doesn't want to be with you. You could have anyone. And Ali said, I know, but I don't want anyone. I want Anna. On October 21st of 2021, while he knew that Anna was out, Ali broke into the apartment that they had once shared and vandalized it. He used that spare key that he had made a copy of, and he just tore their place to shreds, was just acting out of anger, being really childish, and he calls her and he's like, I just, you know, tore our place apart and basically like, you made me do this, that kind of talk. But what he didn't tell her was that he had bugged their apartment. Using his daughter's iPad, Amara's iPad, he installed this app that's like spyware, I guess, and allows you on a different device to constantly listen in to anything that's happening around the iPad. Anna is so freaked out that her estranged husband has broken into her home that she shares with their daughter. And so she calls up the help of a friend named Rayburn Barron. Rayburn was a San Diego native, and he was someone that friends and family say you could really, really count on. He was super kind and thoughtful, but also would just drop anything at the drop of a hat for anybody. When Anna came to him in a time of need, he went with her to the apartment. In her shoes, have to imagine what this conversation probably was. Like, hey, Ali broke into my house. I'm really scared. I know he has a copy of the key. Will you go with me while I document this and do whatever? Rayburn says yes. They go to the apartment and they get there right around 2 p.m. Around this time, Ali has already gone back to the motel and he's listening in using the spyware app. And this is when he hears his wife, Anna, giggling and talking with another man. What was left of Ali's sanity basically snapped. In that moment, the American dream that Ali had longed for, had really felt like he had attained, collapsed right in front of him. He had lost. He lost Anna to someone else in his mind just because he heard a voice over the spyware app, and it was over. And if Ali couldn't have Anna, no one would. Ali grabbed his gun, got into his car, and headed down to the apartment that he once shared with Anna. He got into the elevator, riding up to the 35th floor, and the entire time cried and sobbed and prayed that Anna hadn't had sex with someone else. That was all he cared about, was, oh, tell me she didn't sleep with him. Tell me she didn't, you know. He gets up to the apartment. He opens the door using the key, and on the couch is Anna with Rayburn, and Ali just snaps. Allegedly, at this point, Ali pulls out his gun and shoots Rayburn right in the back of the head. These bullets grazed his neck, the back of his head, and his cheek. This was also a shot at really close range, so I think that Rayburn died immediately. Anna screamed, but before she could even say anything, Ali shot her as well. Now, the timeline of all of this is honestly crystal clear, but Ali has pled not guilty to being the one who killed his wife and Rayburn. However, a neighbor's security camera caught him coming up to the apartment right around like 2:45, 3 p.m., basically within the hour that Rayburn and Anna had gotten to the apartment. The security camera, the Nest camera, catches Ali coming up to the apartment, going in, and then catches 6 shots fired on camera, and then hears Ali scream Anna's name 4 times. At 3 p.m. that day, Ali called up the police and said that he had found his wife, as well as her friend Rayburn Barron, shot dead on the floor of their apartment. He immediately fled the scene, got into his car, and went to his daughter's school. This is the part where I say how he was like drinking and driving on lives earlier is really scary to me, because he goes to his daughter's school, he picks her up early from class, puts her in the car with a loaded gun, and starts to drive. During this car ride, he calls up his mother and he says, "I shot and killed Anna." And his daughter doesn't understand. She's still really, really young. And she's like, "Where's mommy?" Because probably her mother was the one who usually picked her up from school anyway. And Ali's acting really erratic. And he tells his daughter, "I hurt mommy." When police got Ali's call about, the fact that he had walked in and found his wife and her friend dead in the home, he was actually already on the road. So they traced the call, and they realize that he's starting to drive basically away from San Diego. And according to him, he was trying to take his daughter somewhere safe. They tracked him down and arrested him on this local highway, and immediately his daughter was taken away and put into protective custody. Meanwhile, he was taken right in. And it's unclear exactly what he told detectives when he was arrested, but apparently he confessed and said that he had been the one who killed Anna and her friend. And he had shot them because he believed she was cheating on him. Weirdly, later though, he would plead not guilty to all charges. And this has been a major point of, I guess, just like confusion in this case. It's actually now going to trial, to a jury trial, and the court date is set for September 27th. But Ali faces the death penalty if convicted, at least a life sentence, if not the death penalty. He's already told multiple people that he in fact did it, but is trying to plead not guilty. And I would just assume that if you were in this position, you would go ahead and plead guilty to try to avoid the death penalty, try to take some kind of plea bargain. But he pled not guilty to all charges. And if he is convicted, he does face the death penalty, which his own family believes is what's best for him. Louis Marinari, his cousin, who had been his close friend up until this point, who had watched his marriage deteriorate, who had seen him in these moments of just unbridled mental disarray and aggressiveness and abuse towards his own wife. Louis said their entire family is in shock. They can't believe that Ali has done this, but they think that he should suffer greatly for what he did. All his family wants is closure, and Louis went on record to say, "Me personally, and what I feel, the anger that I feel and the hate that I feel, I think he absolutely does deserve the death penalty. He didn't just take one life, he took two. And that's like the worst thing ever." As the judge read out the details of Ali's crime in a preliminary hearing, he sobbed hysterically. But even in jail, far away from drugs and alcohol, Ali has acted truly erratic, at least on camera. And I think that's just because that's who he is. I don't think it's the drugs. I don't think it's the alcohol. I don't even think it's the fame. I think it's just who this man is. He had this really erratic interview with Fox 5 San Diego, and it's referenced a lot in this case because his own lawyer was like, "Don't do this interview. You look bad right now, sir. You're gonna look really bad if you do this interview with Fox 5. Ali just decided to do it anyway. To the reporter, he confessed to bugging his daughter's iPad. He confessed to what he heard that day that really just set him off, and he was like, "Oh my God, I finally caught her cheating." They're separated. She's filing for divorce, but he just heads to the apartment in this blind rage. He gets there. He claims that Anna and Rayburn were kissing on the couch. What I found, I guess, somewhat interesting is that in this interview, he calls Rayburn Ray. And it seems that to a degree, he was somewhat familiar with his friend, which wouldn't that, I mean, if they were kissing, fine. But like, even if they were, I don't know, this is just someone Anna probably found comfort in. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean that she was cheating on him before, and even if she was, nobody deserves to die for that. But there's also just no record of that. There's no proof of that. None of her friends or family believe that she did or would have. It just seems like she found solace in a friend during probably a terrifying time. To quote Ali in this interview, To see her kissing Ray on my couch, with his feet on my table, with my wife, my money, my apartment, my life, in the house that my daughter sleeps in, on the furniture that I put together. What do you expect a man to feel? Now, you may already be wondering to yourself, well, doesn't that directly conflict the 911 call? And it does. Ali says that he walked in now and saw them kissing on the couch, whereas before he says he walked in and found them dead, and that's when he called the police. And he ends up changing his story back during this 911 call. I think he's just like clearly a narcissist and just like a compulsive liar, because he changes his story on absolutely everything. Another example of this is that in the interview, the interviewer is like, your family has said that you started doing cocaine, you started doing these drugs, and you got like crazy off the rails because of them. Like, is that true? And Ali's like, no, none of that is true. Like, my family doesn't know me. I didn't do that. Like, none of that happened. And then later in the exact same interview, in like the same 45-minute phone call that she's making to him, basically on like one of the prison phones, she asks about the cocaine again. And this time he says, yeah, it changed me. It made me like so angry, and doing these drugs when I was on them, I was just a different person. Now in the interview, where he has already claimed once that he walked in and saw Rayburn and his wife kissing on the couch, he doubles back onto he found them dead, he called the police, he made the 911 call, and he was just taking his daughter in the car to safety because he was like, somebody just killed my wife, somebody killed this family friend, like my daughter is not safe, I have to get her somewhere safe. Ali insists in this interview, and it's so vile to hear him talk about it that he almost made it as an actor. In this interview that he's giving about his wife's murder, what should have been the worst day of his life, because his wife was killed and he found her body, he's the loser here. He's the loser. He lost. He had been so close to being a serious actor in LA, so close. He was on the brink of success. He was so close he could taste it, and all of it was ripped away from him because all of this had to happen. In preliminary hearings, Ali's had frequent outbursts. He has gotten into trouble and had to be physically restrained by officers in the courtroom just because he's been so erratic. When the judge would say certain things, or when people testifying would say certain things, he would just yell, he would call names, he would have like literally physical fits, like he's a child throwing a tantrum. And potentially most disgustingly, when the autopsy photo of Anna came up, he started to weep. And he put his head down on the desk and he said, my baby, my baby, my baby. And Anna's family was just horrified hearing this from him. And it's hard to tell what was happening in the courtroom footage, but I can hear someone say leave. And I don't know if somebody was kicked out of the courtroom. I know that of course Ali had to say, because like he is the supposed suspect. Anyway, Anna's family has had to be so strong through this. Ali's family has had to be so strong through this. I'm assuming his own mother probably was the one who had to call the police and say, my little baby boy, my son, just called me and confessed to killing his wife. Ali now goes to trial on September 27th. The judge has declared that there is enough evidence in this case to go to trial. He has not been given bail. He is too dangerous to be let out on bail. And once again, if convicted, faces either life in prison, if not the death penalty. This was such a difficult case to get through and is much darker than most things that I usually talk about here on my channel. I say all the time that people who research true crime are so strong because I spend my time on one case and I'm just emotionally tanked for like a week. But I think that this deserves to be talked about. I think that, like I said, the aspect that we feel like we've watched this person's content in some capacity, or we've heard of him through a friend of a friend, we were familiar with content that he produced online, we were familiar with a personality or persona he portrayed, and then he can turn out to be such a monster. I find it so fascinating and so startling. My heart goes out to Anna's entire family, who clearly have had to be so strong through all of this. and also Ali's family. I mean, his cousin Louis seems like a really nice guy who really loved Anna too. Like, he talks so fondly about her and says how like much it's like scarred him visualizing her in those last moments. And he has gone against his own blood and said like, this man deserves the death penalty. Like, he does not deserve to be alive. Rest in peace to Anna Marie as well as Rayburn Barron, who both seem like really great people. And it's such a shame that one man's jealousy was enough to rob them of any futures that they had. Also, I forgot to mention this, his daughter has a protective order. Like, he's not allowed to contact her, he's not allowed to be around her, he can't write her letters, he can't talk to his kid. So just for anyone who was wondering about that. Thank you guys so much for watching this one. It means a lot to me that you did. Dipping my toes into the water of true crime, which has been heavily explored by other people who do it 10 million times better than I do, has been exciting and invigorating and sad and hard all at the same time. But I also really think it's important to tell people's stories. And I also want to say before I close off this video that if you or anyone you know is struggling with domestic violence, I'll leave some information down below. You're not alone, and it's never too late. For now, I want to give a really big thank you to my subscriber, Carissa, who is a member of this channel. If you want to join my channel memberships and get one extra members exclusive video every single month, as well as helping me pick out video topics and so many other members only perks, you can click that little join button. It should be somewhere around the screen, maybe only on desktop. YouTube's kind of weird. We would love to have you. For now, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I love you very, very much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.